My name is Adrienne Fairwell, and this is CMAmeets, South Carolina ETV and Public Radio. My name is Adrienne Fairwell. My role is President and CEO at South Carolina ETV and South Carolina Public Radio, and we cover the entire state of South Carolina. South Carolina ETV and South Carolina Public Radio provides so many valuable assets to the state of South Carolina. We educate educators, we educate those who work with the Criminal Justice Academy. We do emergency management in partnership with the Emergency Management Division. We create emergency awareness campaigns. We work very closely with the governor's office and anyone who works in emergency management in the state of South Carolina. But we also create great content and are the archivist of the state for radio, television, and digital. We are a multi-platform, multimedia company that resides here in the state of South Carolina as a state broadcasting network. We work on many projects that bring together cities, counties, and the state of South Carolina. The great thing about South Carolina and the different thing about South Carolina is that every region of our state looks and feels and has a different tone and flavor and texture to it. And we have regional satellite offices in each of those areas. So we've got a station in Sumter, and we have a station in Beaufort. We have a satellite station in the upstate, and we have a satellite station in Rock Hill. And then we have a station here located in downtown Columbia. So each of these different satellite entities are able to work on projects that really resemble the flavor of whatever their communities is or are. And so at the end of the day, as a statewide network, we've worked on many documentaries. We work in partnership with MUSC on documentaries to archive the state of South Carolina and the things that we have going on in the environment, climate, history. We have the History America 250 coming up to celebrate America's founding, and South Carolina plays such a huge role in that. South Carolina ETV will be working on that project where we will create digital, education curriculum, radio, and television content that will complement each area of the state of South Carolina and really highlight the role that we've played in the founding of America that South Carolina doesn't very often get credit for. The work of South Carolina ETV and South Carolina Public Radio is very distinguishable among other agencies because we are a state licensee, yes, but we operate differently in that we also have to answer to the FCC because we are a non-commercial broadcaster, and that really is what is the huge distinguishing factor for us. We are a non-commercial broadcast licensee. And as a result of that, that simply means that we do not run advertising on our air, neither radio nor television. And as a result of that, we often depend on our community members to help donate and become members of our content. So that is what actually helps with our programming. When you see us on television or hear us on the radio and we're asking for donations and membership dollars, it is because we need the support for our content and programming. And what we pride ourselves on very much so is the fact that as public media, we are reflective of the communities that we serve. And that is also what makes us very different from a commercial broadcast licensee and any other state agency. We are reflective of each of our communities. We are able to fill in the gap of what our communities need. Going back to a question you asked earlier in terms of how have we worked on projects that really symbolize the entire state of South Carolina. I'll take you back to COVID in 2020. No other entity, not commercial, not state network, could do the things that we did because we were able to take our primary channel and put all K-12 curriculum on our primary channel. And we were able to do that working with the State Department of Education very quickly. And no other entity would be able to do that. You can't reach out to a commercial station and ask them to change their primary channel content and programming to reflect curriculum for K-12 And we were able to do that, and we did that with pride. We did that in partnership with the State Department of Education. We did that in partnership with the governor's office, because at that moment and in that moment, that's what our entire state needed. And that's what we were able to do. And we do that because we don't take advertising dollars. We didn't have to call an advertiser to say, hey, we're going to start running 1, 2, 3 instead of the advertising content that you have paid for. And so that allows us the freedom and the flexibility to be able to be responsive to our state and to each of our local communities. What I will say to you is that I'm just grateful and blessed to be in this chair to be able to impact all of the communities that I serve. At the end of the day, I want to be able to leave a legacy of assistance, a legacy of change, and a legacy of access. That is what you'll always hear me talk about. Access to anyone who is in need of access. Access to anyone who needs to know and understand what South Carolina is, who she is, and what resources and services we provide in the state of South Carolina. So for me, it's also about access, and it's about skill set. Having the tools in the toolkit and being ready when your name and number are called. The work that we do serves minority populations. It serves, and when I talk about minority, it's not just in race, it's also in gender. It's also in socioeconomic classes. So for us, I go back to the sense of it's access. Education curriculum, we build curriculum. It's standard aligned curriculum that we build so that we allow and create resources for our teachers to be able to teach in classrooms, specifically using curriculum that we know has been tried and tested and that it is results oriented. We also assist, as I was saying earlier, with our broadcast emergency management communications. There are a number of entities around the state of South Carolina, organizations and individuals alike, who are unable to afford broadband or don't have broadband or Wi-Fi access. We also distribute Wi-Fi hotspots throughout those underserved and rural communities. We work with the State Department of Education through our K-12 technology grant information, and we are able to do these things very succinctly and in partnership. The things that South Carolina ETV and South Carolina Public Radio are able to accomplish, we're not able to do that in a silo. We believe in partnerships, and we believe in partnerships that are impactful and that are results oriented for each of the communities in whatever given moment or challenge that particular community is facing. And so for us, it's about access to the things and resources and services that any community may or may not have, despite race, gender, ethnicity, religious affiliation, or socioeconomic status. The great thing about public media that I would love to highlight is the fact that we were founded under the Broadcasting Act of 1967, which means access for all. Our television station will always be free and accessible. It is not something that you have to have cable. It is not something where you have to have satellite connections. It is not that you have to have a broadband connection. You can tune in to South Carolina ETV despite what region you are living in, and you will get something that allows you to be educated and entertained all at the same time. So COVID-19, during the pandemic or at the height of the pandemic, it was really our time to shine as public media, as an industry, not just in South Carolina, but nationwide, because the pandemic allowed us to really jump in and be responsive to our K-12 community. And that is the community, that's the E in our name, education. And that's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to help do. Educate South Carolina's students. Most people know SCETV is Big Bird and Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers, and all of those are great things because yes, that's education, but we do some real work behind the scenes of the education curtain. We were able to deploy hotspots. You hear stories about kids who were, in the parking lots of McDonald's and Starbucks trying to get Wi-Fi. We also were the first in the nation to launch data casting. And data casting is actually a campaign by which we were to take boxes, small boxes, and deploy those to households, to students, and teachers were able to upload PDFs of their materials, education materials, and load them through. And once they sent them out, they were distributed into these little boxes. And so kids were able to, broadband or not, were able to download their homework, their curriculum, whatever it was, through these hot boxes. And so I want to say that South Carolina ETV and public media really showed its value during that time. And during emergency weather situations, that's us. We're working in partnership with the Emergency Management Division, with the Governor's Office. We walk hand in hand with these groups to really show and make aware the public of what's going on in the state of South Carolina, where you should be driving, where you should not be driving to, and what are the things that you should be looking at in emergency weather-related situations. And so if there's nothing else I want to get across today, it is the fact that we are such a value, such an asset to the state of South Carolina, and we do things that people don't even know that we do. So that's a part of my job here at what I'm doing today, to make sure that we shape the narrative of who SCETV and South Carolina Public Radio really are. We are planning to really create local impact. And what I mean by that is I've talked a lot about what we do in education, not as much about our content, because it's a no-brainer. We deliver amazing content. I'd put our content up against any station, any network in this country. South Carolina ETV is always on the cutting edge of great content, whether that's television, radio, or digital. But what I really want us to start to do here is hone in on our local content, our local impact. I want to create more of a pipeline of local content to really showcase South Carolina for what she is, what this state means. And we say all the time that we are small but mighty, and we're often finding ourselves fighting above our weight class. And we do. We've got a lot to offer here in the state of South Carolina. So one of the things that is high on my list of priorities is to really start to generate more local content that showcases and highlights who South Carolina really is as a state. And we're going to continue to push news and public affairs. In this climate that we're in, we really need to start to look at the accountability of our news programming. Public media is a trusted source of information. We are unbiased, unsensationalized, and we pride ourselves on that. And sometimes, it may seem as though our news and public information reporting is flat, and that's because you're not getting the flashing breaking news every 5 and 10 minutes across your screen or on your radio airwaves. And I really want to bring back that unbiased reporting back to the state of South Carolina, because again, we are public media and we're here to serve all aspects of South Carolina. Again, race, gender, socioeconomic, religious affiliation, all the things. It is our job to stay in the middle. And even though that's difficult, it's a job that we are certainly able to do, and we're up to task. Okay, so there are so many ways to access South Carolina ETV. You can always log on to our channels on television. We have 11 channels. We have 8 radio stations across the state, and that is because we want you to be able to access us all throughout parts of South Carolina. But we also tip into portions of Georgia and North Carolina as well. I love to get that in. So you can always access on our channels, but you can go to our website, scetv.org and or southcarolinapublicradio.org, scetv.org or southcarolinapublicradio.org. And you can follow us on our social media platforms to stay informed, to get real-time information and updated information for what it is that we do each and every day. And you can also use the website to figure out what channels are nearer to you so that you're able to access us both on television and on radio. I would also encourage you to go online to our digital channel so that you can see our digital content. It is amazing. It's a great question to ask what legacy I'd want to leave. I think I just returned back to South Carolina from Phoenix, Arizona in August. And so thinking of legacy right now is almost like legacy, I've got so much to do. But if there was something I'd want to be remembered by, or a body of work that I'd be most proud of that people would affiliate my name with, would absolutely be that I am fair, that I am responsible, and that I have made a huge impact on the state of South Carolina, because where we were able to fill in the gaps of education, we've done that. Where we were able to help those access Wi-Fi and broadband, we've done that. Where we were able to save lives and be impactful as it relates to any type of emergency, whether it's weather related or not, we were able to do that. And that we were able to do things in partnership that assisted in uplifting and shining South Carolina, putting South Carolina in the best light possible. That would be my legacy. And I know that's a long answer, but for all that we do at South Carolina ETV and South Carolina Public Radio, if there was a way to sum it up, I would say that we do not set the standard, but we are the standard. That's where I would like for my legacy to rest. My name is Adrienne Fairwell. I am the President and CEO of South Carolina ETV and South Carolina Public Radio, and this is CMAmeets, the both of those entities. Thank you.